The LEGO US military is currently on its last legs. Their soldiers have been suffering heavy casualties against an enemy they simply cannot beat. They're outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1 in the zombie apocalypse, where all of humanity is currently being destroyed. All because some dum-dum named Jeff decided to dump biohazard weapons all over a graveyard.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Birthing the zombie army to come. However, a few military survivors, such as this pilot here, managed to secure one of the final Blackhawks in all of LEGO City. This Blackhawk could be the key to escaping the zombie virus. First, they need to decide where they're gonna go. Well, the upper brass survivors in a dimly lit dungeon, they realize that they need to escape somewhere with a low population. And the pilot recommends a small suburban town. We actually need to build that suburban zombified town out of LEGO. And lucky for us, this video is sponsored by TEMU. And they sent the channel a cornucopia of authentic LEGO sets. Now, I mainly requested Animal Crossing sets because we can turn all of these villages into one massive village and then deck it out for the zombie apocalypse. Why don't we go ahead and get these suckers built? And there we go, a huge variety of authentic LEGO sets from TEMU for really incredible prices.
Nice.
We've got a huge number of Animal Crossing sets, as well as Gru's house right here, which might honestly be my favorite of the builds because they come with minions. I like minions. But I also really love how the interior of all of these different sets are extremely customizable. It makes it so we can make each and every single one of them different and really make the LEGO city our own. Be sure to download the TEMU app if you want to find some LEGO for incredible prices. That's right. New TEMU app users can get a $100 coupon bundle by searching for my code DZB9895 in the TEMU search bar, which will then be valid to buy LEGO for 24 hours from when you claim it. TEMU honestly had a huge selection of authentic LEGO, from Star Wars to LEGO City to race cars to pretty much everything in between. And with all these different products available, you can stack your purchase with a coupon bundle worth hundreds and get multiple LEGO sets for great prices. On top of that, they have tons of other great LEGO products, like these wood planks here that are custom printed that we're going to be using to board up our LEGO city. Yeah, there's so many products on TEMU that you can make some incredible LEGO mocks. Thank you to TEMU for sponsoring this video. Let's start zombifying our LEGO city here. Alright, so with our structures now built for the city that the military is going to be in, we're again going to take these wood slabs and kind of barricade up the doors just to make it look a little bit more like an actual zombie apocalypse is here. On top of that, we need to take our big old box of foliage that we've developed over the years here, and we need to make sort of the front lawns of these places very nice and overgrown to make it have that apocalyptic feel, kind of like in The Last of Us, where nature is almost taking over and reclaiming the land that humanity built on. So on top of kind of this overgrowth, I think we could also have some little spots where fires have broken out, since, you know, it's a real wasteland out here now. Et voila!
Pizza time.
We can also, you know, assort some different skeletons in here, and what's kind of cool with the overgrowth, human bodies actually provide a lot of nutrients to plants. So we can kind of have the skeletons being grown through by the foliage that's overtaking the city. So this is just one example of an overgrown house we're going to try and do, but we obviously have a lot more to go through. So we'd better actually go ahead and get our base plate out here first, and then we need to situate the various houses on here and then fill it in with ground. So let's cook. Alright, so we've got our small town built. I think we're gonna skip the Gru house for now on this one. I just don't think it fits the aesthetic. I haven't really like overgrown this just yet, because I want to get the natural ground down as well as a street in the middle first. So that's what we're going to do now, is just kind of make some foliage and also, again, street down the middle, trying to make it somewhat overgrown, I think would make the most sense. So let's get cracking on that. All Alright, we've gone ahead and added a ton of dirt and grass and sand to this area. And you can see where the road was before it was turned to pretty much rubble in most parts by warfare, explosions, zombies, etc. I also put some little Easter eggs in here, like dead people biking, or at the little tiny cafe, or who clearly got stuck within a building during the apocalypse and rotted there. But still, this needs to be a lot more apocalyptic. We need to convert the rest of the houses to look more like this, have so much more overgrowth and things like that, and also board up these doors. Let's go ahead and really make this area look like The Last of Us. Alright, we've got some crazy overgrowth in here. It looks like humanity has basically been gone for maybe a few months to a year. You know, things haven't started rotting yet or anything along those lines, save for the skeletons. But it's enough for some small saplings and shrubbery and fauna to overgrow the streets. We've also boarded up a lot of the shops and things like that to just give it a bit more of a survival feel. But now, I think it's time for the last remnants of the modern military to pull up, which means our chopper gunner here needs to pull the Black Hawk helicopter in to the suburban wasteland so they can establish a perimeter. However, I think it only fitting the Black Hawk have a bit of a crash landing. Some zombies swarmed up on this thing while it was trying to go in for a landing, causing it to topple. Oh no! Of course, they were close to the ground, so there will be a lot of survivors. However, this will also be attracting the zombie horde, because there was surely a bit of an explosion that must have caught fire to the helicopter. And as we all know, sound attracts zombies. So let's go ahead and light this thing up so it truly is looking like a wreckage on fire. Then we're gonna bring in the modern military and the zombies. Okay, we flamed this whole area up, so this chopper clearly had gas leaking out of it and is now getting scorched, which of course will attract, as we said before, the zombies. Now with these zombies, I've got a little bit of a problem. I tossed them all inside of this bucket. We have Plants vs. Zombies, Shark Zombies. We've got Attack on Titan Titans in here. We've got the little Gabagool monsters from Power Miners, Pharaohs, Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, just a load of crud. So I do need to sort through this and find all of our actual zombies because I want to do a massive horde of them coming through the foliage here and then have the military survivors over this way. So this is gonna take a little bit of work. Pretty huge pile of zombies here. And we also got a nice stack of heads so we can build some more zombies in the process. However, I want to start getting the horde down here because that way we can start implementing the US military over here, the last survivors, the high command, and their fight against the zombies. So first, let's get the horde spread out here. I just want to make it look like a looming army just marching down the street towards the noise of the downed helicopter. Okay, so I added the horde marching towards the downed heli, but this is nowhere near all of the zombies. First of all, I saved some of the more detailed ones over here that I like better. Some of the ones from bricktactical.com in particular are extremely detailed and I really like those. So we're going to use those ones for more detailed battle scenes of close quarters combat and things like that with the pilot and the remaining military generals and soldiers. On top of that, I've saved some more just regular zombies to lay down as if they've been shot over here in a big body pile. So that way we can make it look like the defense has been going on for a little while. But first, we need our detailed military defense. So at the front of the helicopter, I want to have the pilot kind of up here with his M1911 drawn. Yeah, kind of have him sitting like that. And then we can have a hazmat zombie up here trying to get to him. Then maybe also the military zombie is starting to get onto the helicopter hood over here, as well as a zombie coming down from on top of the rotors. So basically, the pilot crawled out of the cockpit and is now getting surrounded. Beneath him, we've got the dislodged back rotor. And I want to have this Spec Ops troop here, who's kind of already got the shaved face. We're going to split his body and make it so the rotor ended up clipping him as he was coming out of the heli. And with that, we have a little bit of splatter here. This is from Brick Forge, I believe, is where I got it from. And so we can kind of have it pooling beneath our guy there. And then we might as well add the Starbucks Barista Zombie coming in here to feast. And another Zomboy over here going for the legs. Delicious. So this poor chap had a bad time. And behind him, towards the rear of the helicopter, where there's a little less fire, I want us to have a little US military holdout. So, we have our standard army trooper here with a P250. We're just gonna have him firing into this creepy looking zombie here. We can make it look like the zombie's getting shot, so we can kind of twist his arms back. Very nice. We can also have our more blooded soldier here, and I have a Brick Tactical 9mm that's been discharged, so there's no remaining ammunition inside of this sucker, and we're gonna have it with this guy, since he's got kind of a horrified look on his face. And we'll push him further back here, kind of laying on the ground, and being pounced on by the hype beast zombie, maybe the worst kind of zombie to be killed by, at least in my opinion. That would be my nightmare. And we should also have, you know, a couple dead zombies around here to show that these guys, you know, they're not going down without a fight, they're just overwhelmed. So we have our peripherals kind of done there, but I do want the middle section to be, again, where we have that big body pile of zombies and the main defense for the US military as they're trying to take over the suburbs. So of course we're gonna have General Shepard, we can include US Marines, standard US military soldiers, etc. It doesn't really matter, we can have a bunch of variety in these US troopers because they all just kind of combined. This is like a shattered military, so we can have as many or as little troopers from each division as we want, and also get a few more. And we need to equip these guys with some weapons, which is where my handy dandy box of military weapons, both fake, custom, authentic, Lego all comes into play, and we're going to try and go with more of the realistic looking ones for this mock for sure. We don't need the hype beast CSGO weapon skin this time around, I don't think. Alright, I got these guys equipped with some pretty sweet M16s as well as some M4s and things like that, and also grabbed a few additional soldiers and General Shepard, of course, his pistol. So now these guys can be holding the line against the zombies. And you know, these guys have the real firepower, so they can make a dent here. This is where we might see the W for the US military. Have our boy Shepard on the front lines, popping some zombs. But we should also have some downed troopers as well, so it's not like the zombies aren't getting some W's out here. This might be my current favorite US military or just modern military soldier we've made. And finally, one of these US airborne troops. Alright, so the boys are stacked up in a little defensive formation around the helicopter. The pilot's gonna be on his own, as are the poor chaps who were sadly in the back of the helicopter. But these guys up front, I mean, they've got buildings blocking their rear, so presumably, you know, 99% of the zombies are going to be coming from in front of them, which means this defensive perimeter could potentially hold. Now, we do need to sprinkle zombies throughout here for the body pile. Perfect! So tons of dead zombies all throughout here, including like some Victorian zombies, but I mean that makes sense if we're going to be having, well, first of all, reenactors could be zombified in costume, but also graves were overturned in this particular type of zombie apocalypse, so past people are coming alive as zombies. So we have a ton of bodies all throughout here, and obviously, the general and his troopers are responsible for all of these kills. It's very much so giving Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2 right now with the body piles piling up on the battlefield here. Look at this, just hordes of zombies dead, but then even more coming through. And the one big thing I want to do now is definitely scatter a few additional dead zombies kind of throughout the back of the horde here, because obviously some of the soldiers will end up overshooting and hitting zombies in the back, or, you know, the very first zombies to respond will have been shot, or even zombies from way back when, at the start of the apocalypse, may still be dead on the streets here. So amidst kind of the running zombies, we definitely want to have a few dead zombies just kind of scattered. Overall, a very chaotic scene here. I mean, there's a lot going on. We've got a burning chopper over this way, being entirely surrounded by zombies. We've got soldiers fighting for their lives. And then we've got the main US Army defense absolutely shredding the main horde of zombies, with just countless more zombies coming through the overgrown foliage of the suburban city. If the general here does manage to survive with his troopers, they might be able to use these houses and the lower population area to rebuild humanity. That's going to require surviving the LEGO zombie apocalypse here. So guys, thank you so much for watching this LEGO zombie simulation. For today's giveaway, I'm going to be giving away some of the zombie head packs from bricktactical.com. If you win, you get to go ahead and choose a couple of the packs, and I will have them shipped to you for free. All you got to do is hit the like button, subscribe with notifications turned on, and comment down below, how would you try and rebuild after a zombie apocalypse? Would you start farming? Would you scavenge? Would you try and meet other people? Would you avoid other people? What are you doing to rebuild civilization? Either way, link in the description below for TEMU. Thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.